Praise the Lord. Dear friends, we continue our meditation on the Lord's Prayer. We had been meditating on the petition, lead us not into temptation. Today we would like to reflect on the implications of this prayer for us today. What does it mean for me living today here to make this petition, lead me or lead us not into temptation? We know the ultimate goal or aim of the tempter and temptation is to lead one away from faith, away from God. Leading away from God is leading away from life. So the ultimate motive of this temptation is death and destruction and annihilation. But nobody will opt death knowingly and willingly. So what happens is death is presented as life. Evil is presented as good. So much so that each one chooses for himself or herself a particular act, a particular object, or an attitude, or a value, thinking that he or she is opting something good. So the temptation comes in this way. Evil presented as good. Now, many of these temptations that we face today has been warned. We had been warned about these temptations by Jesus. I'll start our reflection with a warning that Jesus gave in the parable of the sower. In the Gospel of Luke, chapter 8, verse 14. As for what fell among the thorns, these are the ones who hear. But as they go on their way, they are choked by the cares and riches and pleasures of life, and their fruit does not mature. Three aspects Jesus is praising: cares, riches, and pleasures of life. The same idea is repeated towards the end of the public life in a sermon reported in Luke chapter 21, verse 34. Be on guard, so that your hearts are not weighed down with dissipation and drunkenness and worries of this life. Dissipation, drunkenness, worries of this life. Greed, worries, and drunkenness. So these are elements that dissipate our life, destroy our life, make our life fruitless. Now, take us, for example, greed. Everybody needs food, no doubt about it. You and I need clothing. We cannot go naked. We need shelter, a house to live in, to be protected from the heat and cold and rain and sun. When we are sick, we need medicine, care. When we are children, we need education. We need health care. When we are old and decrepit, we need somebody to care for us. So there are so many things we need, and we call it all food. And God has said to Adam, you shall earn your bread by the sweat of your brow. So we have to work hard, and we have to earn our bread. We have to earn our living. So that is a good thing as a necessary thing. And this good and necessary thing can be turned into something evil, unknowingly or unknowingly. All that we need can be turned as money. With money, we can buy. We can buy bread, we can buy house, and we can buy whatever we need. So the more money you have, the more secure you feel, we think. So from the aspect of sustaining oneself, one thinks of gaining more and more. And there comes in the greed. And that greed makes you work harder. Not only work harder, it makes you exploit other people. It makes you cheat. It makes you to do works of injustice. Now I call your attention to a particular passage in the Bible. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verses 8 and 9, where the Apostle Paul is dealing with this particular problem. If we have food and clothing, we will be content with these. But those who want to be rich fall into temptation and are trapped by many senseless and harmful desires that plunge people into ruin and destruction. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. The love of money is the root cause of all evil. It plunges one into harmful desires. One is not happy. One is not satisfied with having just enough food to eat and survive. You need tasty food. You need better food. One is not happy with having any kind of house. You need a better house. Always better, bigger, more comfortable. You need transportation. Your feet are not sufficient anymore. The public conveyance are sufficient anymore. You need your own vehicle. It could be a two-wheeler, but then that is too small. You need a four-wheeler. And there are so many types of four-wheelers, cars on the market. Recently, I saw an advertisement of a very prestigious car that costs 5 crores of rupees. And some 5 Indians have already ordered for that car, it seems. So there is no end, no limit to this. Greed. We know the resources of the earth are limited. And this is meant for the entire humanity. The food we produce, the clothing we make, whatever be the resources of the earth, this is meant for all humanity. The earth and all it contains belongs to God, and God has given to all, not to any particular individual, not to any particular category of people, not to any particular nation. This belongs, the world belongs to God, and I have a share only that is proportionate to me. The limits of my right is the need of my neighbor. But when greed takes possession of me, when the temptation to accumulate takes the possession of me, then I don't care about what happens to the other. In such a way, the whole world can go on sustaining or keeping, entertaining in themselves such a conviction that we are doing something just, when more than 1/3 of the world population goes without sufficient food and clothing, and about 10% of the whole world can enjoy their lives consuming more than 80% of the entire product. So greed can become a great temptation. Power is another temptation. Jesus was tempted in the desert by this power. Fall down before me and the whole world will be yours, the tempter said. But Jesus knew that it was a temptation. We know we need power. We need authority. Every single institution, any society needs certain order, certain hierarchy, certain authority. But when authority and power becomes the goal, then people start manipulating others. They use any means to accumulate, to acquire power. We see that it happens in the elections, be it to any corporations, any society, or even the nations. Even the biggest nation, the most populous nation, is not exempted from this greed of power. So power that is something good has been turned into an evil. So in the process of acquiring power and maintaining power, injustice comes in. The power is being used to dominate and to suppress the others. And Jesus was aware of this, and that's why he gave the disciples this lesson. In the Gospel of John, chapter 13, it's the Last Supper, verse 4 and 5. Jesus got up from the table, took off his outer robe, and tied a towel around himself. Then he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and to wipe them with the towel that was tied around him. Then he explains to the disciples the meaning of this symbolic action, that you can see the same chapter, verses 12 to 15. After he had washed their feet, had put on his robe, and had returned to the table, he said to them, "Do you know what I have done to you? You call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, for that is what I am. So if I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have set you an example that you also should do as I have done to you. So to the temptation of power, authority, Jesus gives this example of a slave. So the one who dominates becomes an object of temptation. How to counter this? See, have a true concept of authority. The authority that comes from inside. The authority as the right to serve. The authority that comes from humility, as Jesus gave the example. Power and authority is good, but it can become a temptation. It can become an obstacle. Obstacle in the way of life. Greed for money, greed for power. Another very important temptation comes from a basic urge of humanity. God made human being as man and woman. And it was God's plan that they should be mutually complementing each other, that they should be a helper to each other. And coming together, they should give birth to new life in the image and likeness of God. That's why God created man and woman. And giving birth is the most important duty given to them. It was the blessing, the first blessing God gave. Sex as a blessing. The sexual difference as beautiful God-given blessing. In order to build up families, in order to create an ambient where new life can be born and can grow. But now this good thing has become again a temptation. We know now how the world is being vitiated concerning this particular aspect. How men and women are being tempted by each other, especially women and their body, becoming an object of temptation. The Bible gives us enough warning about such temptations. In the first letter of St. John, chapter 2, verses 15 and 16, we read, "Do not love the world or the things in the world. The love of the Father is not in those who love the world. For all that is in the world, the desire of the flesh, the desire of the eyes, the pride in riches, comes not from the Father, but from the world. It all comes from the world and leads to destruction, to ruin." In the Gospel of Matthew chapter 18, verses 6 to 9, Jesus gives a very serious warning about becoming a stumbling block in the ways of others. "If any of you put a stumbling block before one of these little ones who believe in me, it would be better for you if a great millstone were fastened around your neck and you were drowned in the depth of the sea, that you never come up. It is better to die rather than cause others to sin," Jesus is telling. "Woe to the world," he continues, "because of stumbling blocks. Occasions for stumbling are bound to come. But woe to the one by whom the stumbling block comes. If your hand or your foot causes you to stumble, cut it off and throw it away. It is better for you to enter life maimed or lame than to have 2 hands or 2 feet and be thrown into the eternal fire." Those who cause others to stumble, others to do evil, have to listen to this word, very serious words, serious warning of the Lord. It is better that you cut off your hand rather than cause your hand to sin. It doesn't mean that one has to cut the hand off or pluck the eye out and throw it away. It should be the occasions of sin, your motivations. Whatever be the relations that might cause you to sin, if it is a position you are in, if it's the work you are doing, if that causes you to sin or causes others to sin, leave that job. If you are causing others to sin by the way you are doing your dealing, change your dealing. even if it is painful, even if you have to suffer loss of money or position or job, don't be afraid. It is better to enter life maimed or blind or with one eye rather than going to eternal ruin, Jesus is telling us. So Jesus takes temptation seriously, gives us a serious warning. And temptations come various ways in our lives. We have to be open. We have to be open to the Word of God. We have to see why we are doing such a thing. There are agencies in the world advertising things, conveniences, merchandises, which are not at all necessary or good. For example, the drinks and drugs that ruin their lives has been advertised, is being advertised. Now, various types of temptations assail us. Jesus has asked us to pray that we enter not into temptation.